This is a short video demonstrating how to bind off in pattern. Seed stitch is one of those stitches that is very important to bind off in pattern, and it can be a little bit confusing. Binding off in pattern means that you will either knit or purl the stitch before you bind it off, as you would if you were following the pattern in the stitch that you're working. For seed stitch, you're going to knit above a purl and purl above a knit to continue the seed stitch pattern, and that is how you would also bind off. So this first stitch you would knit, and the next stitch, because it would require a purl above this knit, we're going to purl. Then, as usual, you pull that first worked stitch over the top of the second one and off the needle. Now we're looking at a purl, so we're going to knit, and again we're going to pull the stitch over and off the needle. Now we would purl because we have a knit coming up, so we're going to purl, etc. across the row. Now if you were working ribbing, like knit one, purl one ribbing, you would follow in the pattern of your swatch. We would purl over the purl, and you would knit over the knit. If it was knit 2, purl 2, you would knit over both knits and purl over both purls, etc. So we'll go ahead and finish this off and take a look and see. And I'll show how I work that last bind off stitch. Just continuing across the row. Another thing, when you're binding off, it's really easy to bind off too tight. Try to give yourself a little extra working room on these stitches so that you're not binding them off too tight. That's the most common thing seen as a bind off that is too tight. It's easier to make it too tight than it is to make it just right. It's really kind of hard to make it too loose. You can use a larger needle to bind off, and that will also help loosen it up if you're having problems making your stitches too tight. We're coming up on the end here. If you're working on a large piece, be careful to support the weight of the piece on a tabletop or your lap when you get to the last stitches, because simply the weight of the garment pulling down on this last stitch or two will elongate the stitches, and you'll have a really loose bind off. So we bind off as usual. We've got this one stitch remaining, and we're letting the weight of the garment or the project sit on the table. You take a pair of scissors and break off the yarn. Holding this corner with your fingers, pull that up a little bit. Pull the tail through. Holding the corner again with your fingers, pull the tail down. By holding the corner with your fingers, you keep from enlarging that last stitch, and now you get a nice clean corner here.